Do tall men cheat more?
Well, I thought in the abstract, I answered this question recently, and at the time I answered it, I was thinking I hadn't seen data on it. And then some online social scientist who does these analyses, kind of DIY style, replied and basically said, I checked this in a large data set. There wasn't an association. I would have expected that tall men would cheat more because they'd have more opportunity. Not saying that, all men who can cheat would, but just definitionally men who can't cheat don't. And maybe it's very difficult to cheat if you're 5'4", right? Maybe that's a real challenge. Not saying it's impossible.
You have to assume that the pool is smaller.
Yeah, the pool is smaller.
Most women want a taller guy.
Yeah, so I was surprised that there was no I take his word for it that there was no association, but I was surprised by that. I would think that there would be an association between, in the abstract, I would think that any attractive trait in males would be associated with infidelity to some degree.
Head of hair, whiter eyes, whiter teeth, better skin. Because you're just opening up the pool of opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Can we recap the fallout from the Ollie Murs transformation? It's a little old now, but I'd never talked about it at the time. So William Costello puts this Twitter poll out that for some reason goes absolutely fucking ballistic. Goes completely interstellar, and there's basically thousands of women kind of saying, if you read the study, that they didn't like leanness and muscularity. This guy did a big transformation and went from kind of standard dude physique with a tiny little bit of definition to probably around 10% body fat with an okay amount of muscularity. And women were asked, do they prefer the dad bod version or the lean and rip version? And tons of them steaming in and saying, no, I prefer that. So give me a post-mortem on Ollie Murs' body transformation.
I remember as soon as William posted it, I thought, oh, that's a really good one. I think I replied at the time, and he, when it was really early days, and he was like, I can spot a sex difference from miles away. He's like, I can manufacture one of these easily. Because he obviously is very interested in sex differences or studies them as part of, the bus lab and whatnot. And so he's going to have really good intuitions for how to pick good examples that will draw them out.
Something that women and men will disagree about.
Yes, exactly. That's what I should have said. Yeah, so to clarify with sex difference, he asked men, do you think he looks better before or after? Meaning after this incredible physical transformation where he's lost copious amounts of body fat and goes from essentially, as you say, muscular guy at the pub, but not much more than that, to, stage ready basically, except, not he's not roided up or anything, but, he looks incredibly lean. And so William posts this and says, men versus women, what do you guys think? And as you say, the women strongly preferred the before and the men strongly preferred the after. And there was an insinuation by men, a widespread insinuation that women were basically being coy about their actual preference or lying about their preference. And that this is kind of it's known that women lie about these things. The reason that I don't think that is because when you ask women about their height preferences, they're very open about saying it's tall in surveys, right? So I look at this sort of study and these sort of data all the time. Women are very open about preferring taller men. They're also very open about preferring more muscular men, right? So women say they prefer taller men, and then you look at height and mating success, and generally taller men are more popular on the dating market. So that seems true and stated, true and revealed.
Yep.
Muscularity, same deal. You ask women, do you like muscles, right? They say, yes, we like muscles. And then you survey muscular men, and it turns out they also have more positive romantic experiences. So stated versus revealed, it's all on track. With leanness, it's a little more complicated. It does seem that women don't prefer too lean. And when you look at the Ollie Murs transformation, I would say that the main difference before and after, if we were to look at it, he does look more muscular in the after, but I would say that very likely he just lost fat, right? I've seen those sorts of transformations before. Usually it's just fat loss rather than any actual muscle gain. And so I think that what happened here is partially that men looked at the photos and said, wow, that guy got jacked. And then women said, oh, I don't really like that. And they're like, oh, what? So you don't like jacked guys, right? But women were seeing that and saying, oh, this guy just lost a lot of body fat. And I don't like men who are too lean. So women's body fat percentage preferences from the research we have are a little heavier than what
the gym bros think.
Well, it's heavier than 10%.
It's
right?
like 15, right?
Yeah, it's closer to that. So in the most recent study from Zia and colleagues, they used DXA images. Now, DXA images is actually, there's a big pro and a big con. The big pro is that we know the body fat of the men. We know the body fat percentage, right? It's not a guesstimate. The con is that like a DXA image doesn't look like a real man. So I think that's a real limitation of the study. But in that study, it was between 13 and 14.1% body fat.
Yep.
So that's still pretty lean, by the way.
Mhm.
Like you've definitely got the kind of 4-pack up top.
Visible upper abs. But
Yeah.
it is not as lean. Look, this is where two different worlds collide.
Yeah.
If you're a bro listening to this
Yeah.
and you hear 14%, dude, I can walk around at 14% is a piece of piss.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I can
Yeah.
have some bread. Thank fuck for that. But if you're a normal person,
That's pretty lean.
14% is a hard cut away.
Yeah.
You've got a hard cut to do to get down to that.
Yep.
So yeah, I tweeted about, I put it in my newsletter. The ideal body fat percentage is higher than gym bros think. And I think that's true as an anchor. I think most guys would assume that optimal body fat for women would be 9 maybe even. I do think that most guys would just guess that you can get too lean, that your face is going to look gaunt, but it wouldn't actually be to do with the body, that the optimal body fat percentage. But then that being said, you have somebody like Mike Thurston, for instance, who at quite lean levels of body fat still looks quite full, still doesn't look very dry. One of the problems that Ollie Murs had was he had like what I would call, as opposed to skinny fat, he had skinny lean, which is not quite the right amount of mass to carry that level of leanness. And if you have a little bit more mass underneath it, I think it can actually make you look more healthy in that way. And some people just don't carry leanness that well.
Yeah.
Some people don't carry fatness that well. I'm somebody who doesn't look great fat. I'm someone who looks all right lean. I can keep going. I think the leanest I've ever been in my life is maybe 8.5.
That's extremely lean.
And I looked fine. Everything got pretty much better from that. And it doesn't look, but Ollie struggled a bit more with that.
I mean, you're making really good points. I think that a lot of gym bros would be surprised at how lean 13% can look.
Yes.
It really depends on how much muscle you have to some
And also,
extent.
where do you carry it?
And
People
where do you
carry it in
exactly.
different places? If you're
Yeah.
carrying it in your legs and your ass as a dude,
Yeah.
you're laughing.
Yeah.
You're carrying it around the midsection. If you've got the classic tire, you can get down to 12%
And you still
not really have visible abs.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I mean, when I read this result and was reviewing other results, I was spending a lot of time looking at, okay, can I see a DXA verified guy? Like this is the number and this is him shirtless, and comparing it. And you can look a lot of different ways at 13 to 14% body fat. There are some guys who look all right up to 20%, right? They still have, visible chest separation, that kind of thing. I would say though that most guys at 13 to 14%, they've got the upper abs very clear, maybe some forearm veins, right? Maybe like a little bit of upper chest definition, but it's not stage ready bodybuilder by any means. I think that your point about Ollie not necessarily looking like fully healthy at that weight, that's the key kind of evo-psych interpretation of all of this, right?
Trust really is everything when it comes to supplements. A lot of brands may say that they are top quality, but very few can actually prove it, which is why I partnered with Momentous. They make the highest quality supplements on the planet, and their whey protein is literally the cleanest on the market. It's fast-absorbing isolate sourced from grass-fed European cows, which means no hormones, no antibiotics, no GMOs, plus it's NSF certified, meaning that even Olympians can use it. And unlike most proteins, it's designed for gut health. No fillers, no junk, low in lactose, and it mixes amazingly. This is fantastic. Clean protein usually tastes awful, and this is unbelievable. Best of all, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can buy it completely risk-free, plus they ship internationally. Right now, you can get 35% off your first subscription and that 30-day money-back guarantee by going to the link in the description below or heading to livemomentous.com/modernwisdom and using the code modernwisdom at checkout. That's livemomentous.com/modernwisdom and modernwisdom at checkout. Congratulations for making it to the end of a clip. Your brain has not been fried by TikTok. Watch the full episode here.